Pittsburgh Steelers versus Cincinnati Bengals. The AFC North rivalry between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals reignites this Thursday in Cincinnati, and while both teams find themselves on divergent paths through the 2025 NFL season, the matchup carries immense significance for their respective outlooks. The Steelers arrive with a 4-1 record, leading the division and positioning themselves as one of the conference's most balanced and disciplined teams under veteran leadership. The Bengals, at 2-4, sit in a precarious position, teetering between salvaging their season and slipping into early irrelevance. With Pittsburgh riding momentum behind 40-year-old quarterback Aaron Rodgers and a defense that's been both opportunistic and punishing, and Cincinnati battling inconsistency under Jake Browning's stewardship, Thursday's clash at Paycor Stadium is as much about pride and survival as it is about playoff positioning. The stakes are amplified by divisional implications, long-standing animosity, and the compelling storyline of two quarterbacks with vastly different levels of experience and expectations facing off under the lights. For Pittsburgh, this game represents an opportunity to extend its stronghold atop the AFC North, while the Bengals are fighting to keep pace and regain rhythm in a season that has already featured moments of frustration and flashes of potential. The Steelers' 64.5% win probability speaks to their superior form. But in this rivalry, history shows that records and odds often mean little. The Bengals' home field, with its raucous crowd and unpredictable weather, has derailed many a contender, and head coach Zach Taylor's squad hopes to find its footing through the leadership of Jamar Chase, who has been one of the few consistent bright spots in a sputtering offense. The Steelers, meanwhile, continue to rely on Rodgers' efficiency, Jaylen Warren's tough running, and a defense anchored by linebackers Nick Herbig and Patrick Queen, both emerging as tone-setters in a unit that thrives on pressure and disruption. The quarterback duel features one of the most compelling contrasts of the season. Aaron Rodgers, at 41, is rewriting the late career playbook in Pittsburgh. Through 5 games, he's thrown for 1,021 yards, 10 touchdowns, and just 3 interceptions on 68.8% passing, commanding a QBR of 49.0. Modest by his elite standards, but reflective of a player leaning on precision and timing rather than arm strength alone. His leadership has been palpable, transforming the Steelers' offense into a calculated machine that values efficiency over explosiveness. Rodgers' connection with DK Metcalf has been particularly potent, with Metcalf hauling in 19 receptions for 356 yards and 4 touchdowns, providing the vertical threat necessary to keep defenses honest. Rodgers has posted a road completion rate of 71.7%, showing his composure in hostile environments, and against AFC opponents, he's completing over 71% of his throws with a 7.4 yards per attempt average. Evidence of a veteran quarterback who knows when to take risks and when to rely on the ground game to sustain drives. His ability to read defenses pre-snap and adjust protections on the fly adds an extra layer of mastery that few quarterbacks at any age can replicate, making him a true blueprint for longevity in the modern NFL. Across the field, Jake Browning continues to navigate the growing pains of leading a team still adjusting to life without Joe Burrow, facing the daunting task of shouldering both leadership and execution responsibilities. Browning's 757 passing yards, 6 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions tell the story of a quarterback who flashes potential but struggles with consistency, often forcing throws into tight windows or misreading coverage rotations. His 64.5% completion rate is respectable, yet his QBR of 35.6, ranking 31st in the league, underscores his difficulty handling complex defensive schemes and avoiding costly turnovers in high-pressure situations. Browning's splits further expose his vulnerability. At home, he's completed 65% of passes, but has thrown 3 interceptions in just 2 games, highlighting a tendency to falter in critical moments and struggle to sustain drives on third down. The Bengals' passing offense has suffered as a result, ranking near the bottom of the conference in yards per attempt, red zone efficiency, and explosive play creation, leaving them overly reliant on a predictable rushing attack. Against a Pittsburgh defense that thrives on disguising pressure, rotating stunts, and forcing hurried decisions, Browning's composure, decision-making, and accuracy will be tested from the opening snap, with even minor mistakes likely to be magnified. The game may hinge on whether he can maintain poise under duress, process pre-snap reads quickly, and exploit subtle mismatches, making his performance a key determinant in whether Cincinnati can stay competitive against one of the league's most disciplined and opportunistic defensive units. Pittsburgh's offense has found its balance behind a smart mix of veteran poise and youthful energy, blending Rodgers' experience with the dynamic playmaking of emerging talents. Jaylen Warren has emerged as a versatile weapon in the backfield, rushing for 184 yards on 54 carries and contributing as a reliable receiver in short yardage situations. His ability to pick up blitzes, navigate traffic, and extend plays has made him indispensable to Rodgers, particularly behind a line still adjusting and searching for its ideal combination of run blocking and pass protection. On the outside, DK Metcalf remains the focal point, using his physicality to dominate smaller corners and his speed to stretch the field vertically, forcing defenses into uncomfortable coverages. Rodgers' trust in him has grown with each week, reflected in their increasing chemistry on intermediate and deep routes, which has allowed Pittsburgh to open up the field for complementary targets. Tight ends and slot receivers have benefited from this attention, finding soft spots in zone coverage for crucial conversions. The Steelers' passing attack, though not always explosive, has been ruthlessly efficient, consistently converting third downs through sharp timing, disciplined execution, and strategic route combinations. Their balanced approach, blending power runs, misdirection, and timely throws, has allowed Pittsburgh to control tempo, sustain drives, and keep defenses guessing week after week, creating a system where individual talent amplifies collective success. Cincinnati, conversely, has leaned heavily on Jamar Chase to inject life into its offense. Chase's 468 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns on 42 receptions lead the team, but his usage has been both a blessing and a burden. Without consistent secondary threats, defenses have been able to double-team him, forcing Browning to rely on rookie receiver Charlie Jones and tight end Tanner Hudson, both of whom have battled injuries. Running back Chase Brown has provided stability in the run game, racking up 202 yards on 74 carries, but the Bengals' inability to control the line of scrimmage has made it difficult to establish rhythm. Offensive inefficiency has plagued them, and their 2-4 record reflects a team struggling to finish drives despite flashes of creativity in play design. Compounding these challenges is a lack of cohesion in the passing game, as timing between Browning and his targets has been inconsistent, leading to miscommunications and missed opportunities. The reliance on a single star also makes the offense predictable, allowing opposing defenses to focus their best schemes and personnel on limiting Chase's impact. Turnover issues have crept in as well, with hurried throws and sacks increasing the risk of giveaways. Overall, Cincinnati's offensive struggles highlight a broader imbalance. While individual talent shines, collective execution has been inconsistent, leaving the Bengals searching for both strategy and stability to compete with top-tier defenses. The Steelers enter the matchup on a 3-game winning streak, with victories over Cleveland, 23-9, Minnesota, 24-21, and New England, 21-14. Bouncing back from a narrow Week 2 loss to Seattle. Their defense has allowed just 19 points per game during this stretch, while Rodgers has thrown 8 touchdowns to only 2 interceptions. Perhaps more importantly, Pittsburgh has demonstrated resilience in tight contests, with all 4 of their wins decided by 10 points or fewer. Their offensive line, though battered, has shown improved cohesion, allowing just 4 sacks in the last 2 games. On the road, they've been sharp, a perfect 2-0, underscoring their composure and preparation under head coach Mike Tomlin's veteran leadership. Beyond the numbers, the Steelers' secondary has tightened coverage in recent weeks, limiting explosive plays and forcing opponents into predictable passing situations. Running back rotations have also become more balanced, with effective contributions from both starters and backups helping to control the clock and maintain offensive rhythm. Special teams play has been a subtle but critical factor, with consistent kicking, disciplined coverage, and timely returns giving Pittsburgh advantageous field position. Collectively, these elements highlight a team operating with confidence, cohesion, and a readiness to impose its will against even the most challenging opponents, suggesting they are peaking at precisely the right moment. Cincinnati's recent form tells a different story. The Bengals have dropped 3 of their last 4, including a disheartening 37-24 loss to Detroit and a 28-3 defeat to Denver that exposed their offensive fragility and inability to adapt under pressure. Their only bright spot came in Week 2, when they outlasted Jacksonville 31-27, but that momentum quickly evaporated as inconsistencies on both sides of the ball became apparent. Defensively, Cincinnati has struggled to generate pressure without consistent production from Trey Hendrickson, who has been limited by a hip injury, leaving the interior line vulnerable and allowing quarterbacks to sit comfortably in the pocket. The Bengals' secondary, while athletic and capable of big plays, has been inconsistent, allowing opponents to convert 42% of third downs, a figure that underscores their struggles in high-leverage situations. Special teams have also been uneven, occasionally compounding mistakes with poor field positioning. Playing at home offers some comfort, but their 1-1 record at Paycor Stadium suggests that home field advantage hasn't translated into dominance, and fan support has sometimes masked deeper systemic issues rather than mitigating them. For a team on the brink, Thursday's game carries a sense of urgency that could either galvanize or unravel them entirely, making it a pivotal test of resilience, strategy, and composure under pressure. With Pittsburgh at 4-1 and firmly controlling the AFC North, a win in Cincinnati would push them even closer to solidifying playoff positioning and potentially securing a first-round bye. Their divisional rivals, Baltimore 1-5 and Cleveland 1-5, have struggled mightily, leaving only Cincinnati as a plausible challenger if it can string together consecutive wins. For the Bengals, this game is less about overtaking the Steelers at this stage and more about keeping fragile postseason hopes alive. Sitting at 2-4, another loss would plunge Cincinnati into a hole that is increasingly difficult to escape, particularly with critical conference tiebreakers looming and their next few matchups offering little reprieve. The Bengals' margin for error is razor-thin, forcing them to execute nearly flawlessly on both sides of the ball. Conversely, a win for Pittsburgh not only bolsters confidence, but also allows the team to extend its division lead, showcasing the experience and poise of one of the league's most seasoned quarterbacks. The Steelers could further cement themselves as legitimate AFC contenders, while also sending a clear message to the rest of the conference that they are not just riding early season momentum, but are a well-balanced, strategically sound team capable of sustained dominance as the playoffs approach. Injuries could play a pivotal role in shaping Thursday's contest. Pittsburgh's injury report lists several key contributors: safety, Deshaun Elliott, questionable, personal; wide receiver Calvin Austin III, out, shoulder and safety Miles Killebrew out, knee; linebacker Malik Harrison remains on injured reserve with a lingering knee issue, while guard Max Sharping's season-ending injury further depletes depth along the offensive line, potentially forcing the Steelers to adjust protection schemes and rotation patterns. The absence of Killebrew weakens the Steelers' special teams coverage units and limits flexibility in sub-package defensive situations, making the team more vulnerable to big plays and mismatches in the secondary. Austin's missing speed and route running ability will be felt, particularly in stretching the field and creating explosive opportunities for the offense. However, the potential return of Elliott, if cleared to play, would provide a much-needed boost to the secondary, improving communication, coverage versatility, and the team's ability to disguise schemes against high-powered passing attacks. Coaches may also need to compensate strategically for these absences, adjusting personnel groupings and relying on younger or less experienced players to fill critical roles, making Thursday's matchup as much a chess game of depth and adaptability as one of talent. Cincinnati faces its own set of challenges. Wide receiver Charlie Jones, questionable, ribs, and defensive end Trey Hendrickson, questionable, hip, are both game-time decisions, while tight end Tanner Hudson is out with a concussion. The Bengals will also be without tight end Mike Gesicki, on injured reserve with a pectoral injury, and guard Lucas Patrick, sidelined indefinitely. The potential absence of Hendrickson could significantly impact Cincinnati's pass rush, which has already struggled to generate consistent pressure. Without him, Rodgers may have more time in the pocket to exploit mismatches against a secondary vulnerable to precise route running. The Bengals' offensive line injuries compound their problems, as protection breakdowns have frequently short-circuited drives and forced Browning into hurried throws. Compounding matters further, Cincinnati's depth at key positions has been tested repeatedly this season, forcing younger and less experienced players into crucial roles. This lack of continuity in personnel disrupts timing, chemistry, and overall execution on both sides of the ball. The combination of a depleted offensive line, a compromised pass rush, and the potential absence of key skill players leaves the Bengals in a precarious position, where even minor mistakes could snowball into major consequences against a disciplined and opportunistic opponent. In short, injuries are not just sidelining talent, they are fundamentally reshaping the team's ability to compete effectively. Several key factors are likely to determine the outcome. For Pittsburgh, the X factor lies in Rodgers' ability to manipulate Cincinnati's coverage through tempo and pre-snap adjustments. His offensive command and connection with Metcalf could create big plays if Pittsburgh's play action draws the Bengals' safeties out of position. Additionally, Jaylen Warren's balance of physicality and agility could test a Bengals defense ranked near the bottom of the AFC in rushing yards allowed, providing both a steady ground game and opportunities for explosive runs. Defensively, the Steelers' linebacking duo of Nick Herbig and Patrick Queen has combined for 9 sacks and 90 tackles, embodying the aggressive style that disrupts rhythm and forces turnovers, while Pittsburgh's secondary is poised to capitalize on any mental lapses, creating the potential for critical interceptions. Special teams and situational awareness could also swing momentum, making it clear that the game may hinge on which side can maintain discipline and execute under pressure throughout all 3 phases of play. For Cincinnati, the key will be protecting Browning and establishing early offensive balance, particularly by leaning on Chase Brown's ground game to set tempo and control the clock. If they can sustain drives and keep Pittsburgh's defense on its heels, it could create openings for Jamar Chase to make explosive plays downfield, turning critical third-down situations into momentum-shifting gains. Defensively, even a limited Hendrickson presence could tilt the trenches, but the Bengals must generate consistent interior pressure to disrupt Rodgers' rhythm and timing, forcing the veteran quarterback into hurried throws or unfavorable down and distance situations. Another subtle X factor could be special teams. With Killebrew sidelined, Pittsburgh may be more vulnerable in coverage, offering Cincinnati a potential edge in field position and hidden yards that could ultimately influence drive length and scoring opportunities. Turnovers, penalties, and field position battles may prove just as decisive as big plays, emphasizing the need for Cincinnati to execute cleanly in all 3 phases if they hope to contend in this matchup. The numbers, trends, and intangibles all point toward a Pittsburgh victory. Rodgers' poise, coupled with the Steelers' defensive discipline, gives them a decisive edge against a Bengals team still searching for offensive cohesion. Cincinnati's inconsistency, combined with mounting injuries, makes it difficult to envision them sustaining drives against a Pittsburgh defense that thrives on third-down stops and forcing turnovers in critical moments. Expect the Bengals to keep it close early, fueled by home energy, crowd noise, and Jamar Chase's individual brilliance, but over the course of 4 quarters, the Steelers' superior execution, balanced attack, and adaptability should prevail. Pittsburgh's ability to adjust mid-game, whether shifting defensive coverages to confuse quarterbacks or exploiting mismatches in the receiving core, will likely create pivotal swing moments. Rodgers' mastery of situational football, particularly his ability to protect the ball, read defensive schemes, and make quick decisions under pressure, will be the defining factor, while complementary playmakers on both sides of the ball provide the support needed to close out the game convincingly. The Steelers move to 5-1, further cementing their status as legitimate AFC contenders, while the Bengals drop to 2-5, left searching for answers as their season teeters toward disappointment. For Rodgers, this represents not just another win, but another chapter in his late career resurgence, a testament to experience outlasting youth and the value of veteran poise in critical moments. His precision on third downs, mastery of pre-snap reads, and growing chemistry with his receivers have transformed Pittsburgh's offense into one of the most balanced in the conference. For Browning and the Bengals, it's a sobering reminder that raw ability alone isn't enough. Sustained success in the AFC North demands discipline, adaptability, and the capacity to execute under pressure, qualities that Cincinnati has yet to consistently display as their season slips further out of reach. After analyzing both teams, my pick for this match is Pittsburgh Steelers winner. Drop your thoughts and predictions in the comments box.